Welcome, Ultimate fans, to UltiWorld's live coverage of the 2018 High School National Invite, coming to you from Rockford, Illinois. Keith Rayner in the booth, joined by Charlie Eisenhood, and we have a boys division semifinal between Lexington Pie and Nathan Hale, the Raiders from Seattle, Washington.
Fantastic matchup, Keith. These two teams have played exceptionally well all weekend long. Hale, the number one overall seed, the number one team in the country, has really showed off size and athleticism as they've just really rolled their way into the semifinals. Pie, an interesting team, a homeschool program out of Kentucky. They, using a smart zone defense and some really great top-end players, have also won comfortably, and they find themselves here in what should be a great matchup as we see Nathan Hale and White getting set to pull to start the semifinal.
Chance to play in the High School National Invite Championship on the line for these two squads. Pie underway on offense. Kayla Montgomery with the reset. Back to Nate Maddox. And now the deep shot going up from Montgomery. And a big grab from Taco McEachern, but it's out of bounds. So Hale will get a shot at a break here. Zach Heffron comes under. Deep shot. This one's hanging. It's going to be a bit of a jump ball. But brought in by Robert Christ for a break, for Hale to take a 1-0 lead.
Well, that's the way you want to get the game started if you're Nathan Hale. Just simple stuff. Get the block on one end, good defense, disc on the sideline, and then put it out to space for one of your big downfield cutters. Go up and make a play. Great use of the body and the big spike.
Defender in the right spot there, but went up a little early. And Chris makes sure of it. Goes up and gets the grab. And no surprise to see Hale attacking deep. They have been incredibly aggressive with their throws, and that's because they have a big, fast, strong team. And Pie's going to really have to figure out a way to match the athleticism and the size that Hale presents.
Well, and Pie, they have some definite athletes, and it's just really a question of can they match the depth that this Nathan Hale team has. Pie, an interesting team, and we'll certainly see this later on. They have a kind of a Big Tent program. They have some girls on their team. They have some middle school players on their team, and those players have been in rotation all weekend, getting meaningful points, making meaningful impact. And I'm sure we'll see that at some point in this game.
They played against STEM out of Nashville in their quarterfinal, and both teams have co-ed rosters and played girls on every point. I'm sure they were both excited to have the opportunity to match up in that fashion with a team that was similarly constructed.
Yeah, and both teams high level here in the bracket at the National Invite.
Probably kind of a breakout program this season. Hale is a bit more of youth ultimate royalty. Initiating undercut for Joseph Lindemuth. Now again, Montgomery underneath. Horizontal stack here from Pie. Looking to attack the middle of the field. And high stall situation. The punt, however, is going to work out. It looks like there's a stall call back at the disc. I don't know if that news has reached Joseph Lindemuth yet, but now it finally does.
I can't really tell if it looks more like a travel call than a stall call, the way that the reenactment is happening.
Well, I'm sure if we get enough reenactments that they'll surely come to an agreement.
It was a great chemistry throw around stall 8, stall 9, putting up a great throw out into space, letting the receiver just go chase it down. No chance for the defender in that situation. But now it's going to come back, stall 6. So good chance for Hale potentially to get a block.
Definitely a skill to throwing throws when the stall count's high that your teammates can get to. And ton of effort there from a Keetron senior captain. And another deep shot from Pye. This one another hanger. And knocked away, but nearly saved on the second effort grab. And Pye has been equally aggressive to start this game. I don't know if that's going to be the optimal strategy against a team as athletic as Hale.
Good bracketing from Pye to take away the under.
Tony Veneri. Now another throw to space from Hale. Gets them a lot of yardage. Drumheller into the end zone. And that's a goal. Hale breaks again and punishes Pye's aggressive deep strategy.
I mean, again, we're just seeing Hale doing what they've done all weekend, which is win battles in the deep space and then play great D-line offense. And it gets them another break.
Now, I just watched this Pye team, again, in quarters take on STEM, and that game was almost entirely zone offense, but saw tremendous patience from this Pye offense. Sometimes they would work it down with a rush of quick throws to get to the red zone, and then throw 30, 35 passes before they took one into the end zone on an open look. So they have the capability to play with discipline and patience and work the disc around. They're a handler-driven team with plenty of confidence in the backfield, but so far they have chosen to attack the deep space, and Hale has been able to win the battle there.
Well, you see it a lot in high school ultimate. A lot of teams build their offense around the deep ball, and we've seen plenty of that this weekend. And the problem is that coming up against this Hale team, they are just generally taller and more athletic than the teams they've been playing against. And that strategy just does not work out against them. So we'll see if Pye makes an adjustment. They're not going to be able to throw jump balls the way that they maybe have been able to in other games against this Hale team.
There's a lot of hucking in high school ultimate. If you're not watch a lot of youth ultimate, kids love to huck. Everybody loves to huck. Just kids are happy to do it. Hale with the pull. So Maddox initiating play. Maddox finds Lula Detil, 8th grader on this team, and Josh Wu holding with the stall count rising. Detil comes back under and gets it again.
Dutil just 14 years old.
And there doesn't get much help from her teammates and forced to just kind of stuff a throw up the open side, and it's intercepted. Hale's offense resetting into the middle of the field. And now a deep shot from Veneri, wide open Heffron. Easy away pass. Hale with a 3-0 lead.
Veneri, he's been doing it all weekend. A U20 Team USA selection for this upcoming World Juniors Ultimate Championship. And this Hale team had 3 tryouts. That's a lot from one high school program. And once again, we see Pye working the disc effectively on offense most of the way up the field. But then their final decision ending up in the hands of Nathan Hale.
Well, we've praised Hale's athleticism and ability to attack deep, but one area in which they're really winning this game is in the reset space. They are challenging Pye's every look backwards and forcing them in situations where the stall count's high and there's not a lot of time, there's a lot of pressure, forcing Pye to make difficult throws by taking away the easy options. And a guy like Vanieri, that's something that he excels at, is using his quickness to defend handlers. But so far, Hale's ability to gum up the Pye offense by taking away their swings and their resets has been really effective.
Try to keep you up to date with the other semifinals going on around the complex here. It's been an interesting day. A lot of thunderstorms in the area. So far, we've only had rain here at the Sports Score 2 complex in Rockford, Illinois, but today's forecast looks ominous, hoping that we can bring you both the girls' final next and the boys' final later this afternoon, but that will be dictated by weather conditions. So we wanted to make sure we got at least a game streamed, so we're streaming this boys' semifinal, previously unplanned, and we will see what happens this afternoon.
Little bonus ultimate for you folks, and our coverage of the high school national invite is presented by Universe Point Cleats.
Yeah, Universe Point. Really appreciate their sponsorship of the tournament. They're here on site selling cleats. They've got the new models out. Really awesome cleats. Check them out at universepoint.com.
I'm dying to try those out, and here Pye works her way towards the end zone. McEachern tosses it over to Wu, and Wu toes it in for Pye's first hold. 3-1, they trail.
Well, that time just finished the offense. Didn't try to take a risky pass. Wide open there for McEachern. He's patient, waits for it to open up, sees the easy backhand, and Wu does a nice job towing the line.
Other semifinal right now in the boys division, Center Grove, one of the favorites at the tournament, taking on Grady. That's the 2 and the 3 seed.
Center Grove up 2-1 in that game. And in the girls, Holy Family and Nathan Hale, highly anticipated game there. Holy Family trailing right now 2-0 after back-to-back Hale breaks.
Holy Family dominant on Saturday, but pushed in their quarterfinal by West out of Utah. We also have in the distance behind this field, Neuqua Valley, who's had a very impressive weekend and looks like a contender. They're playing against the number 1 overall seed, High Country.
And that game is on the adjacent field to our showcase field here, so try to keep you up to date. It's currently 3-1 High Country leading Neuqua Valley.
Pye with the pull. Maddox sails that one out of bounds, so Hale will center it up. We'll get a look at some of the Hale players who we really haven't had a chance to talk about from their offensive unit. Ben Perkle, one of their primary deep throwers, jogs the disc to get ready to initiate the offense. Pye with a poach in the deep space. Looks like they either are going to go junk or zone. Perkle comes in. Right through the cup to start. Three-person cup from Pye. Looks like they're forcing to the middle of the field. Certainly slowing the Hale offense down a bit, but now Hale finding a little bit of room. Disc in the hands of Jasper Dean. Back to Perkle. And then Gabe Port. Perkle spies one towards the back of the end zone. Drops it in. Ben Diker on the catch.
And while it took a few passes for Hale to get into the end zone, and of course that zone designed to slow you down, really Hale didn't have to take any dangerous passes. They found nice open players at all times, and that was the riskiest throw of the entire possession, and it was wide open.
Yeah, definitely a little risk. The most aggressive throw. You don't have a lot of room with the back end zone line there, but Perkle has the skill to hit his man with pace. We see that Hale can work it. They don't have to just take the long ball. They can get out there and march it just down the field.
Well,
I like the look from Pye.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of it this game. This Hale team's the Washington State champions. They were ranked number 1 all season long. They're certainly the favorite, and I think they've looked the favorite so far this weekend to win the high school national invite. As mentioned, 3 tryouts for the U20 team. Veneri making the team, and just high-skill players up and down the roster. We've already seen their defense look very strong to start the game, and a really comfortable opening O point for the Raiders.
Heffron on the pole. And Pye's offense underway, going to the sideline to Montgomery. Montgomery taking a shot, looking for Wu, and this one is also going to hang, so Wu's going to have to try and win in the air, but it gets over his head. Another deep throw turnover for Pye.
Well, Wu's been a tremendous downfield receiver, but again, the size of Hale proving an issue.
Again, zone from Pye after the turnover. Hale taking the short throws with their handlers. Heffron goes across the field. Some penetrating throws through the middle. A different zone, it looks like. Maybe a 2-3-2 now from Pye rather than the cup they were running last point. Mixing it up a bit.
But not able to create a lot of sustained pressure. Hale marching it up the field.
Heffron gets that one from Xavier Fondrich and goes wide, and there's a contested pass. Caught by George Drumheller. Asher Landa.
Pye so comfortable running the zone in the red zone. Not a lot of teams do that, but you're often going to see Pye play zone for the entire point, never transitioning. So you can see playing really good red zone defense, and that can be a real challenge.
Another contested play there for Hale, so Pye making them work for it a bit. Fondrich through the middle, and that one deflected. Discussion about whether Drumheller got under it before it touched the turf.
From here, it looked down. Some discussion, and I think he's going to agree that he didn't make the catch before it hit turf.
And excuse me, that's Jerry Chen. Unable to make the grab, and a nice block in the cup, or in the zone, rather. Now another deep shot from Pye, ambitious and beyond the reach.
Maybe feeling that reset pressure starts to make you a little antsy to get the disc out of your hands as a handler. So Hale perhaps getting in the heads of Pye.
It's back to the zone. Fondrich. Christ over to Drumheller. And another layout block for Pye.
Levi McKay going horizontal, and you see they anticipate those throwing lanes so well. 2 layout blocks on relatively short passes. And it'll be a timeout for Pi. And I think a very good time to take a timeout, especially after their previous possession after getting it back, immediately giving it back on the Huck turnover.
Well, initially we said that Pi has chosen to be the aggressor on offense, but then after looking at how their resets are being defended, maybe it's more of plan B or C that they're going to, the deep game, because they don't have a lot of other places to throw it. So we'll see if they find an adjustment, a way to create some space.
See the girls playing in the background. That's the semifinal between High Country and Neuqua Valley. It's 5-1 High Country.
High Country, another one of the homeschool programs that's made it to the semifinals of the high school national invite. Holy Family Catholic in the girls division doing the same. Pi had a bit of an up and down year. They started off the year really hot, but cooled off a little bit in the midseason. But seem to be peaking around the right time. I imagine with a team full of younger players, they're going to be pretty happy with this performance, regardless of how this game turns out.
Oh, no doubt. And, you know, they've showed the ability to get wins against top teams. And it's kind of been the depth that's been an issue at times, unable to go multiple days. I mean, we talked about this in the tournament preview, that it might be hard for them to push all the way through a full weekend. But, you know, they've given themselves the chance to get into the semifinal with not having expended too much energy. They had pretty comfortable wins in pool play. And now coming out of the timeout, see if they can right the ship and get a hold.
Wu underneath from Montgomery. Backhand force from Hale. Match defense. Wu layout grab on the sideline. And then towards the end zone, not quite in. Lindamuth looking to finish off the possession for Pi. Maddox. Open side. That's a goal for Montgomery and a hold for Pi to make it 4-2.
Caleb Montgomery, one of the best players on this Pi team. He's really been one of the best players in the country this season. And strong cut to the front cone. Maybe even feels that pressure from the help defender and attacks the disc effectively. And a nice way to come out of a timeout and play your best offense of the game.
Absolutely. We see so many times that teams come out of timeouts and struggle to get their rhythm back, but Pi just picking up with their best offensive possession so far. So the Hale offense will come back out to the field as we see Pi's defense plotting with their coaches to figure out how they're going to try and get their first break of the game. I've seen 3 different defensive tactics so far. So plenty to choose from for Lexington.
And I don't know if the timeout has been taken or if this is just the observer-free, less than timely time between points.
I believe the phrase the kids say is "no observers, no rules," Charlie.
And of course, you know, no games at this level are played with observers. At YCCs, you'll see instructional observers on some games, essentially there to act as timekeepers and rules consultants. But I have to say, I was actually looking through the Spirit scores yesterday from here at the National Invite. And, there are plenty of very tight, intense games. And I think I saw one bad Spirit score on all of the score sheets. And that's so great to see that teams here are playing fair, respecting their opponents. You see a lot of high fives with opponents after scores. And really it's refreshing to see that, considering what's a little bit more commonplace at higher levels.
A lot of positivity, a lot of players talking to each other across teams on the sideline. I've seen some discussions and calls go on for a long time or maybe get a little contentious, particularly in the boys division. But for the most part, everybody's been working through the disagreements. Josh Wu disrupting me and the offense with a layout block.
And again, they play that zone so much. Wu knows that he can get a block from the position he was in. He baits that pass, lays out, takes it away.
Now takes the under. Lindemuth. Dump and swing from Pye. McEachern. Short throw now to Lindemuth, and Pye just inches away from their first break. Running out of options, but the inside break and the layout catch from McEachern for the Pye break.
Enormous layout from McEachern. And, Lula Dutil got open on a cut right to the front cone, and she got looked off. They could have had an easier score, but McEachern makes up for it with a huge grab. No reset. Can't get anybody open. Stall getting high. Throw it out into space, and wow. Look at McEachern. So a break for Pye, and they're right back in this game. And we've seen some very good defense from them the last few possessions that they've had on D, both on their O point and then there on their D point.
Hale unfettered by the zone on the first instance, but since then the Pye defense has started to make a couple plays. Maybe they're getting a sense of how Hale's offense is going to operate.
Four to 3, Grady leading Center Grove in the other boys semi.
Pye getting themselves organized on the line. And maybe a bit of a misnomer to say that the team's young. We've seen that they have a core group of players who are highly involved, and many of those players are seniors. But players like Lula Teal coming in the pipeline.
Yeah, 8th grade. And getting a significant run.
Playing with a lot of confidence.
Oh.
I could feel like I could sing her praises all day.
I think for her, if you watched her play and you didn't know how old she was, you'd think she was a senior in high school.
Absolutely.
And that means she's going to be somebody to watch coming up on U20 teams potentially. We could see her be a huge impact player. I mean, think about how much room she has to grow considering where she is right now.
She's fast,
She's
too.
very fast. She's been getting open all weekend.
Now in the Pye Cup, trying to get another block for this Pye team. Hale's given a couple up.
They really crowd the disc. There's a lot of room for hammers or blades, but Hale kind of crowding the disc as well, making those options a little more difficult.
And they dial one up just to satisfy my friend Charlie here, Veneri over the top. And that one goes into the end zone. Connor Landa with the throw to Duiker for the goal.
Well, that's how to beat this zone. This hammer opens everything up, and then it's off to the races. You don't have that middle, but give, go, and get a score up line.
Duiker scoring 2 straight goals for Hale. Puts them up 5-3.
Nathan Hale up 3-2 on Holy Family in that girls semifinal. So a grinding defensive game. A lot of zone.
I've seen a lot of that in the girls division.
And those two teams feel like the best teams we've seen so far. Feels to me like we could see the winner of that game take the tournament, or they'll be the favorite in the final. But High Country has been very resilient. Often they'll play close with the team in the first half and then pull away and end up winning by 6-7 goals as they make their adjustments.
They're not an efficient team, but they're gritty and have some tremendous players. Alyssa Earhart and Margaret Berry have really led the way for them this weekend and have been two of, and perhaps the top players in the girls division at the tournament. So the pull from Hale. And up the middle to Lindemuth. Now to Montgomery. McEacher takes off. Pie's offense working on the open side a little bit, but they've had a lot more success resetting the disc. And now a wide open target for McEacher, takes the hammer. Gorgeous throw and an excellent hold from Pie to make it 5-4.
Phenomenal throw. And it had to get there in a hurry. If it had helixed out and flattened out, it would have given the defender a chance. But good eyes and throws a very bladey hammer. We'll see it again. Comes around on swing, sees the cutter, and just drops it in the bucket.
And credit to Maddox for creating a ton of separation there and making that throw an option. If he only gets 2 or 3 steps, that throw is really not there. But with that kind of separation, McEacher can be confident putting up a tough throw.
So notably, the clock you see on your screen is the hard cap clock. Game's 75 minutes right now to hard cap. A little shorter than we were hoping. We were looking for 90-minute games, but given the weather conditions, a lot of uncertainty about potential lightning, as I mentioned earlier, and want to make sure that games get in. And we do have the option here. If you remember, the club national championships were held here at this Sports Core 2 complex. And if you were watching our live streams that year, this was 2 years ago, you may remember the kind of apocalyptic construction in the background. Well, that has now been completed, and they have an absolutely beautiful indoor turf field that could accommodate essentially 2 full Ultimate games with no restrictions on throws, with a high enough ceiling and wide enough walls that you can throw anything. So we have the option, if lightning pops up, to move inside and finish out the games indoors.
Perkle takes the centering pass, and again, the tight defense from Pie. Back into kind of that cup set. More traditional 3-person cup. Through the middle for Port. Perkle fakes one over the top. And this is kind of what we expected out of this matchup, was Pie to force Hale to execute, try and take them away from the deep ball game that they had used to such great effect here in Rockford. And now to the end zone. I think that's the first touch for Dempsey Hope White, who has been a monster for this Hale offense. Makes it 6-4.
Hope White's had a great season. One of their best cutters all year. And, you're not going to see as much of him and maybe Gabe Port as we might in a game where there was a lot of matchup defense being played. Because, of course, going to run a lot more through the handlers in the zone sets. But confident work from Hale on that point. But you're still seeing Pie laying out getting close. They're going to create chances with that zone.
And here we're seeing a little bit of perhaps the questions about Pie's depth is really there's a core of about 6 players I think who've played nearly every point and gotten a lot of the touches for this Pie team. We'll see how that plays out throughout the game. You mentioned that they have been pretty good about closing out games. Last game, a lot of zone, so maybe didn't have to use the legs as much. But we see most of that core group taking the field now as we look at the Hale offense. See Coach D.Y. Chen.
This feels like a very important point for Pie. Hale looking to take half. Only 37 minutes left before the hard cap goes on. And could be difficult to claw back those breaks. So a hold here crucial for this Kentucky team.
Heffron readies the pull. Drops in near the sideline, and McEachern initiates play. I could real enjoy this Wu and Veneri matchup, although we're going to go the other way. Montgomery running out of room, but makes the play. No, he was reading the wrong sideline, as was I, looking at the sideline of the field next door. So that is going to be out of bounds. Jasper Dean getting things started for Hale with a break throw.
Pretty good look to Montgomery, but needed to really put it to the perfect spot if it was going to be a goal, and just a little wide.
Maneri gets it, and now he's going to put one deep for Hope White, and not a lot of players are going to stop him there. So he comes up with the score, and that's going to take us to half with a Hale break. They lead 7-4.
And just great chemistry again. Veneri, as soon as he catches the disc, is looking and sees Hope White with a step, and that's all it takes. And Hale takes half, 7-4.
Impressive showing for Hale. We'll see if Pie can claw back into this game. Running short on time, but not on effort. We'll be back in about 10 minutes to bring you the second half of this semifinal.
Our coverage today presented by Universe Point Cleats. We'll be back with you after halftime.
Welcome back to UltiWorld's live coverage of the 2018 High School National Invite. Coming to you from Rockford, Illinois, the Sports Core 2 complex. And our coverage is presented by Universe Point Cleats. Coming back in for the second half of this boys division semifinal, Lexington Pie. They're going to be serving it to Nathan Hale. The Raiders receiving in white with a 7-4 lead.
See if Pie sticks with the zone or they try to go with a matchup, and it looks like it will be zone.
And another exposed deep space for White Hope, and you can see the speed on display.
Yeah,
Dempsey Hope White just legging one out there.
So fast. So fast. And you see him release off that rail and just outruns the coverage. It doesn't even have to lay out. I thought he was going to have to lay out, and then, nope, just runs it all the way down.
3 straight goals for Hope White.
Senior on this team. And, you know, one of the great things, Seattle Ultimate in general, and at the youth level, they're just able to do so much. You look at this roster for Nathan Hale. They have all juniors and seniors, and they have 2 sophomores on their team. And that's because they have JV programs. And they have middle school programs. And so there's so much development happening. By the time players reach the varsity team, they're generally upperclassmen, and they are going to be experienced, talented players. And a lot of these players play together for many years, and you can see the chemistry on display. Even though this team, you know, they in Washington, they play their boys' high school season in the fall. So Nathan Hale won Washington State's back in the fall and has obviously been preparing for this tournament, but hasn't played as much as many of the teams here in recent months. So for them to look this strong, despite the fact that they haven't played a ton of competitive ultimate in, you know, sort of the typical youth season, is extra impressive.
Doesn't hurt to be big, tall, and fast either.
It sure doesn't.
John Randolph, coming out of that Seattle youth pipeline, has just won the Rookie of the Year in the men's division in the college and put together one of the best seasons we've seen from a rookie in that division in a long time.
It's the first time that a freshman has made an All-American team, and that's unbelievable. So John Randolph was playing on this same field last year in the final on the Lakeside boys team, came up in second place, lost to Catholic in that game. But it's no surprise to see a Seattle team getting deep into the tournament here again. And this could be a backbreaker if Hale gets it.
And with room, Drumheller just a couple yards outside. Goes backwards. And that dump swing from Heffron over to Veneri for the goal. And they have broken open this game 9-4.
Picture perfect end zone offense. This is how you draw it up in a textbook. You're stuck on the near sideline. It's not there. Reset, swing, change the attack angles, and then hit the front cone. Easy score.
And it goes to show you this Hale team, who entered the tournament as the favorite, has probably only widened what the betting lines would be if we were to take them, because they have been extremely impressive throughout the 2 days of play here in Rockford.
Again, Pie has been dominant to this point, and they look totally outmatched against this Hale team. And I think it's in part because Hale is just very, very comfortable working against the zone. And Pie has gotten a long way by using that zone. And it's not windy, and it hasn't been all weekend. We've had almost no wind at all. It was beautiful yesterday, sunny, 80 degrees, maybe up into the mid-80s. Today, cooler. Right now, probably around high 60s, maybe 70 degrees. And it's been raining off and on.
Well, it goes back to that experience you were talking about. I mean, we said earlier that this Pie team has been reliant in this game on a core group of about 6 seniors and juniors. But basically the whole team for Hale is seniors and juniors. They have a whole team of players that they can turn to with that level of experience, and it's made a big difference.
Grady up 7-3 at halftime in their semifinal.
I want to talk about juniors. That team's got a full cast of impressive juniors. This might not be the best Grady team we see yet. Pye working the disc. We're seeing a couple of new faces out there for them as Montgomery comes under and gets it. And now Wu looking to the end zone for Lindemuth, but that went too far. Another execution error for Pye, and perhaps fatigue starting to wear on this core group of players.
And you see the speed differential, with Hope White chasing that one down for Hale. He gets there. But Wu overthrows the receiver, and now Hale looking for another break.
The point begins, but I think a violation or travel call here is just brought in front of the end zone line. Pye back in zone. And another block in the zone by a cutter downfield. Haywood able to get there. It's not by accident that this Pye team has arrived in this semifinal. Montgomery, easy up the line, and Haywood gets the bookends for the score, 9-5.
There's theoretically still just enough time for Pye to get back, but they're going to have to go on a run of breaks and a big wide strike cut for an easy score.
Hale this has kind of been the recipe for them. Push away from teams and hold on to the lead, and it's exactly what they did in the quarterfinals against Woodrow Wilson, one of the pleasant surprises of the boys division. And it's interesting that to have this kind of this Lexington, Kentucky program. I mean, Lexington not an area you think of as an ultimate hotbed, but showing that they can compete with the premier youth ultimate communities through hard work and talent. And we'll see how that affects the culture of the area, and as these kids age and become more involved in the ultimate community. Certainly Seattle has a pretty high level of involvement as is.
That's almost an understatement. It's probably the #1 youth development city in the world,
with an extremely advanced ultimate scene, well beyond even the youth community.
Great find in the middle, opening up some room for Hale.
Perkle. And a nice toe in there. Discussion about whether or not it was in. Connor Landa. They're going to say in the boundaries of the field, but not in the end zone. Dean. A little scooper over the top. Pye still in that zone. We said they will stick with it. And there's some quick disc movement. Perkle puts into the end zone for Landa. And now there's some sort of getting warmed by the fire kind of spike?
Campfire. They started a campfire on the field, Keith.
All right.
So more comfortable work against the zone from Hale. The O-line's only given up one break. And mostly their offenses look like this. Good pump fakes, moving the defense back through into those seams.
I mean, I'm impressed by the ability that this Hale team has shown. All weekend I've watched them throw long balls and let guys like Hope White run it down, and it felt like that was kind of where they were going to go is, hey, we're the more athletic team. We can throw far. What are you going to do about it? But they've shown a strong base of fundamentals in this game and an ability to execute even when met with different types of challenges.
It's a game to 13. Hard cap now under 20 minutes away.
Hale comfortably in control right now. Pie looking for a spark if they want to try and get back into it. Maddox centers the pool to Matt Reynolds. Reynolds over to Lindemuth. Wu looking deep. Wide open target. That from Calicott. Now in the red zone. And Wu with the easy throw for the score to Montgomery.
Clean offense from Pye. That time the Huck on target. See it drops in. And good patience to wait for it to open up, reset, and then front cone goal.
So 10-6 now. Hale still in the lead after the Pie hold. About 17 minutes and change remaining for the hard cap, but
Nathan Hale in the lead in their girls division semifinal as well, up 7-3 on Holy Family Catholic. And a similar situation in that game. Holy Family Catholic so dominant yesterday, looked like the odds-on favorite, but struggled a little more in the quarters this morning. And Nathan Hale in control of that game, the second half just about to begin. So not much time left for Holy Family to try to make a comeback. So we could see Nathan Hale in both finals. And a sweep is definitely not out of the question. I think that those two teams will probably both be the favorites heading into the finals.
And Charlie, I want to take a second to ask you here while I've got you. This is the second annual high school national invite. It was a tournament that began last year. What was kind of the mindset of starting this type of event along with the folks here at Glue?
Well, I got a phone call from Arnush Javaharian, who's the coach of Neuqua Valley and runs cut camps. Maybe 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago, and he said, we should start a high-level, invite-only high school tournament that happens after the state tournaments. And, with the changes that USA Ultimate has made with getting rid of the regional events, centrals and southerns and westerns, and there hasn't been a sort of quote-unquote high school national championship for many years now after USA Ultimate phased those out. And there was kind of a void for high-level high school play as Pye gets a block, giving themselves a break opportunity coming up. Joseph Lindemuth getting horizontal for another block in that zone. And I immediately said, Java, that's a fantastic idea. Let's make it happen. So he and I and Nick Lindeke from Glue, the Great Lakes Ultimate Events that runs so many great tournaments here in the Midwest, started working on putting it together. And we were super excited that as we watched Pye turn it over, that was a golden chance that they may not get again. And teams were excited about it, and that was awesome to hear, as now another chance for Pye And we were excited to see that this year even more interest. So many teams that we invited said yes. We're hoping to continue to grow, particularly in the girls division, where this year we had 13 teams. That's 5 more than last year, but we still want to fill it out to a full 16 and hope that the top teams that get invited will decide to make the trip. And so, yeah, I think it's really been an awesome celebration of youth ultimate, and it's different than YCC because it's high school teams and not, club programs. But it's, I think, a great way for many of these teams to end their season with a highly competitive tournament.
Nice break throw there for Maddox. Pie getting a second chance at getting their second break. McKeecher now to Wu on the break side. Wu, high release forehand. I don't know if Lindemuth was who he was looking for, but he is who caught it. And then he goes over to Maddox for the break. Life from Pie, 10-7.
Well, 2 turns for Hale's offense. Looking a little shaky on that point as the wind started to pick up a bit. And the high release opens up some space, and that tricky throw makes the break possible, and Pie still with a chance with 12 minutes to go before the cap. It was fun this morning that there was a lot of rain last night, so many of the fields had to be shut down. So consolation play took place inside in many of the indoor fields that they have here at SportsScore 2. And teams playing 5-on-5 consolation games. Tons of energy, tons of fun, lots of noise, and using the scoreboards inside. So I think nice for those teams to get out of the rain and enjoy a final day of competition.
An idea reprised from just a couple weeks ago.
That's
when we
right.
were at the same field site in the same situation for the College Division III National Championships. There was a consolation game played inside 5-on-5, and you're right, a lot of energy. Turns out when you take 4 players off the field, the sidelines get bigger. And adding hockey-style boards to the game also makes everybody way louder. A little push pass there from Landa, who then smirks like he got away with something. And right now, the Hale offense is getting away with this game. Small ball, little fakes, and pour it into the end zone for Landa. Great response hold for the Raiders.
Yeah, probably their best point against the zone. The disc didn't get stuck. They didn't wait. It was just ping, 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 end zone. Let's try to get you some score updates. Holy Family trailing 8-4. Nathan Hale looking like they're going to lock up that game. And Neuqua Valley just scored on the far field, but they trail 11-5 to High Country. So it looks like we're going to have a 1-2 matchup in the girls' final, which, weather considerations aside, should be streamed live next here on UltiWorld. High Country versus Nathan Hale should be a good one.
High Country just grinding it out all weekend long. So Hale getting ready to pull just 2 points away from reaching the final. They'll have to hold off this Pie team. And now Quick movement from Maddox and Montgomery. Maddox with the layout save. To Teal. Underneath for Montgomery. Wu wide open. And he's going to take a shot, but help defense comes over. Foul call against Drumheller.
And I think he's going to take it back, and that's the right call. That was an uncatchable disc, and Wu should have just thought twice. It's not a good look. There was a poach defender off the back. That was never going to be a completion. A pump fake there would have probably opened up some space in the hammer space, but
understandable call, given that the first thing that happened is the contact, and Montgomery immediately just thinking like, hey, I'm getting hit, I'm going to call the foul. But then thinking better of it after assessing the situation a little bit more. Pye back in the zone. Heffron working in the backfield with Fondrich. Throw over the top to Spencerland. Alex Katz through the middle, back to Land. Hale attacking the width and then going through the middle after they open up the cup a bit. Fondrich back to Land and back to Fondrich. Nice patience from Hale, who continues to use their fakes very well. They also attack from the handler space. Nice move there. And a blade towards the back of the end zone. Asks his teammate to make a difficult catch and comes up with it.
I thought that was for sure going to be a turnover and just a stabbing grab for the score, putting Hale on the doorstep of a victory, just 1 point away from a spot in the final.
It's probably technically incorrect to say that any throw deserves to be a turnover, but if one does, it might be that one. But George Drumheller with the paw on it and hauls that one in, saves his teammate from getting a tally on the stat sheet. Instead, pushes that one over to the assist column. Now Hale with a 12-7 lead.
See it again, having to adjust, going backwards, goes up with the right hand, sticks the foot down. Great score.
Drumheller having a nice game. Started the game with the first 2 assists for breaks for Hale, and now adding a goal. Doing a lot in between those goal lines as well.
Grady dominating their semifinal against Center Grove, 9-4. So a collision course between what arguably was the #1 team in the South this season, Grady. They had some inconsistencies at points, but especially early in the season, looked like the best team in that region. And the best team here from the Northwest, Nathan Hale.
I think maybe the only team in the boys division with the team athleticism and size to match up with this Hale team on that axis. After a very exciting quarterfinal round, a lot of blowouts here in the semifinals as teams stretching their legs and asserting themselves.
Fantastic pull, pinning Pye in their own end zone to start this possession.
Amy Lindemuth gets her first touch on the under and then goes ahead to Maddox. Wu on the open side. Wu Wu driving again for another one. Dishes to Lindemuth. Continues to McEachern. Nice flow here from Pye. Getting to their second options effectively when the first is not there for them.
Hale, such smart poaching.
And Wu with the grinding point finds the front cone. It makes it 12-8.
Take a look. Makes the move from the stack. Gets open for the score.
So we're under 4 minutes remaining, but only a point away for Hale.
Yeah, there's not enough time left clearly for Pye to make a comeback, but a fantastic season for their team and probably the best year in their team's history. And they will lose some very talented seniors, and we watched a lot of them dominating possession here today. Caleb Montgomery, Nate Maddox, McEachern, but lots of young talent as well, and maybe a couple of years of rebuilding in front of them, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them back here at the National Invite very soon.
Yeah, the experience that some of these 8th graders and the like are getting just being at this tournament likely to pay dividends down the road. Perkle takes the centering pass. Pye sticking with zone. Around break for Port. Handlers really have done an excellent job pushing to gain yards and force the defense to shift. Especially with a 2-person front and 3 handlers, you're outnumbering them, and Hale has been able to take advantage of that pretty consistently. Perkle with the swing. And all the way around the horn, Hale punches it in. Hale's going to the final.
Strong game from Nathan Hale. The zone offense looking very good against what's a very tough zone D from Pye. And really their defensive line, so impressive. Clamping down in the reset space and contesting the deep shots that went up as a result. And we're going to see them again in the final in a couple hours. And it's certainly no shame for Pye to lose to this team. Hale's been the best team here.
Yeah, it's going to be a tall task for any team to take down Hale, and there's only one remaining that can do that. So we'll see what happens in the boys' final. We'll also see if we are able to, if the weather holds as it is now, bring you the girls' final. It's likely also to feature Nathan Hale.
Yeah, but it's going to be Hale versus High Country. And that game scheduled for an 11:30 Central Time start, so that's 30 minutes from now. And we will keep you posted if there are any changes to our schedule due to weather. But as it stands, the radar, I just took a look, looks pretty good. We might have some rain, but no lightning. So that's going to do it on this boys semifinal game. Nathan Hale advancing to the final with a 13-8 win. Our coverage today presented by Universe Point Cleats. You can check them out, universepoint.com. Get yourself a pair of cleats designed specifically for Ultimate from the ground up, from the cleat pattern to the soles to the interior. Just so comfortable. Everybody who wears them raves about them, so check it out, universepoint.com. That's going to do it for this game. We'll be back with you in 30 minutes for the girls' final between High Country out of North Carolina and Nathan Hale out of Seattle.